Roads. We all use them. They get us to work, to the store, to grandma's house. But some roads? Well, they're just plain weird. Some roads are weird because Mother Nature made them that way. Think crazy hills, sharp turns, or even trees growing right in the middle of the road. Yep, you heard that right. Trees in the road. And then there are the roads that are weird because, well, humans built them that way. Think confusing intersections, traffic circles the size of football fields, or even roads that just suddenly end. In this here essay, we're going to take a look at some of the most unbelievable road anomalies caught on camera. So buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Let's start with those trees in the road, shall we? Now you might be thinking, Mike, why in the world would anyone build a road around a tree? And that's a fair question. The truth is, sometimes it's just easier to build around something than to tear it down, especially if that something is a big, old, beautiful tree. Take for instance the famous tree in the road in Maryland. This massive oak tree has been standing there for centuries, long before cars were even a thing. And when they built the road, well, they decided to just go around it. Now some folks might call it an inconvenience. But I call it character. It's a reminder that nature was here first, and we gotta respect that. Speaking of nature, let's talk about hills. See, hills don't care about your car's suspension or your fear of heights. They're gonna hill and that's that. And some hills, well, they're more like walls. Take Lombard Street in San Francisco. This winding one-way street is famous for its 8 hairpin turns. It's so steep that cars have to go down it at a snail's pace. And then there's Baldwin Street in New Zealand. This beast of a street held the title of steepest street in the world for years. It's so steep that they actually have to close it down during certain times of the year because it's too dangerous to drive on. Why? Because it's basically a slip and slide for cars when it rains. Now, let's move on to the weirdness that humans have created. And where better to start than with roundabouts? Roundabouts are great in theory. They keep traffic flowing and reduce the risk of accidents. But sometimes, well, they can get a little out of hand. Take, for instance, the magic roundabout in Swindon, England. This monstrosity consists of 5 smaller roundabouts arranged around a larger central roundabout. It's enough to make your head spin just looking at it. And then, there's the roundabout in Putrajaya, Malaysia. This one is shaped like a giant flower, with 6 petals branching out from the center. It's certainly pretty to look at, but I imagine it's a real pain to navigate. Section 5, Human Quirks Bridges to Nowhere. Next up we've got bridges. These marvels of engineering are designed to connect places and people, spanning rivers, valleys, and even seas. Bridges are supposed to connect 2 pieces of land separated by water or some other obstacle. They symbolize connection, progress, and the triumph of human ingenuity over nature's barriers. But sometimes bridges get a little lost along the way. They start with grand ambitions but end up as incomplete dreams, standing as silent witnesses to plans gone awry. Take for instance the Bridge to Nowhere in Japan. This ambitious project was meant to connect 2 islands, promising to bring economic growth and easier transportation. However, the project was abandoned before the second island was even built. The bridge now stands as a testament to what could have been a half-finished structure reaching out into the void. So now the bridge just sort of ends. It's a surreal sight, a road that leads to nowhere, leaving one to wonder about the stories behind its incomplete state. And then there's the unfinished bridge over the Yangtze River in China. This project was halted due to corruption and safety concerns, leaving behind a colossal structure that serves no purpose. Construction on this bridge was halted due to corruption and safety concerns. The bridge, which was supposed to be a symbol of progress, now stands as a stark reminder of human fallibility. And now, it just sits there, a giant concrete reminder of what might have been. It's a monument to halted dreams and the complexities of large-scale construction projects. It's like starting a delicious sandwich, but forgetting to put anything between the bread. These bridges to nowhere are fascinating, yet poignant examples of human ambition and its occasional missteps. Section 6, Human Quirks, Left Side Driving. Hold on. Now, this next one isn't so much a road anomaly as it is a quirk of human behavior. It's one of those things that can really throw you for a loop if you're not used to it. I'm talking, of course, about driving on the left side of the road. It's a practice that dates back centuries and has a fascinating history behind it. Now I'm an American, so I'm used to driving on the right side of the road. It's what I grew up with, and it's second nature to me. But in many countries like the United Kingdom, the rules are quite different. Australia and Japan, among others, have their own unique driving customs. They drive on the left. This can be a real challenge for those of us who are used to the right-side driving system. And let me tell you, it's a real trip. The first time you get behind the wheel in one of these countries, it feels like everything is backwards. You're constantly having to remind yourself to stay in the left lane, which can be quite disorienting at first, and roundabouts become even more terrifying. Navigating them feels like a high-stakes game of bumper cars. But hey, I get it. It's all about tradition. The left-side driving custom has deep historical roots. And who am I to argue with tradition? It's fascinating to see how different cultures have developed their own ways of doing things. Just be sure to pack your patience. Traffic can be a bit of a nightmare, especially if you're not used to the local driving customs. And a good sense of humor if you're planning on driving in one of these countries. Embrace the adventure and you'll have a great time exploring new places from behind the wheel. So, next time you find yourself in a country with left-side driving, take a deep breath, stay alert, and enjoy the ride. It's all part of the travel experience. Section 7, A Personal Anecdote, Lost in London. Speaking of driving on the left side of the road, let me tell you about a time I got lost in London. It was one of those experiences that you look back on and laugh, but at the time it was anything but funny. I was there filming an episode of Dirty Jobs and I had rented a car to get around. The idea was to have the freedom to explore the city at my own pace, without relying on public transportation or taxis. Now I thought I could handle driving on the left. After all, how different could it be from driving on the right? I had driven in many countries before and I considered myself a pretty competent driver. I mean, how hard could it be, right? Wrong. The moment I got behind the wheel, I realized just how disorienting it was. Everything felt backward and my instincts were all wrong. It was way harder than I thought. I found myself constantly second-guessing every turn, every lane change. The roundabouts were a particular nightmare. I kept entering them the wrong way and had to make quick, panicked corrections. I ended up driving in circles for an hour, completely turned around. I passed the same landmarks over and over again, each time feeling more and more frustrated. My GPS wasn't much help either. It seemed to be as confused as I was. I even tried asking for directions, but with my American accent and my complete lack of directional sense, I'm pretty sure I just made things worse. The locals were friendly enough, but their instructions might as well have been in another language. Finally, I gave up and called a cab. It was a humbling moment, admitting defeat to the labyrinthine streets of London. But at that point, I just wanted to get back to my hotel in one piece. The cab driver got a good laugh out of me, and I have to admit, I deserved it. He regaled me with stories of other tourists who had made the same mistake, which made me feel a bit better about my own misadventure. Lesson learned. Stick to the tube, Mike. The London Underground may be crowded and a bit confusing at first, but it's a lot easier than trying to navigate those streets on your own. Plus, you get to experience the city like a true Londoner. Section 8. Why we love the weird roads. So, why are we so fascinated by these weird and wacky roads? I think it's because they remind us that the world is a strange and wonderful place. They're a break from the ordinary, a chance to see something different, something unexpected. Plus, let's be honest, we all love a good story. And these roads, they're full of stories. Stories of human ingenuity, human error, and everything in between. They remind us that even in our highly planned and structured world, there's still room for a little bit of chaos, a little bit of surprise. And that's what makes life interesting, ain't it? Section 9. Conclusion, hit the road. So, the next time you're feeling adventurous, I encourage you to seek out some of these unbelievable road anomalies. Take a drive down a road that's been built around a tree, or tackle a hill that's so steep it feels like you're climbing a wall. Just be sure to bring your camera, your sense of humor, and maybe a spare tire or two. You never know what you might encounter out there on the open road, but one thing's for sure, it's never gonna be boring. Now get out of here and explore.